We now turn our attention to the principle of moderation. This virtue, though simple to understand, can be challenging to embody. It urges us to avoid extremes in all spheres of life, physical, emotional, and intellectual. While closely related to the virtue of temperance, which we've previously explored in the context of physical restraint, moderation casts a wider net. It's a philosophy, a worldview, that encourages a balanced and measured response to the world around us. In the context of Benjamin Franklin's virtues, it's essential to understand the distinct role that both temperance and moderation play. While these two terms often intermingle in common parlance, Franklin set a distinct boundary between the two, associating each with separate aspects of life. Temperance, as Franklin defined, is primarily about regulating physical appetites. Eat not to dullness, drink not to elevation. This virtue aims to promote self-restraint concerning food and drink, upholding a focus on physical health and clear thinking. In contrast, moderation, as defined by Franklin, goes beyond the physical and delves into our emotions and reactions. Avoid extremes. Forbear resenting injuries so much as you think they deserve. It encourages maintaining balance in our thoughts, words, and actions, thereby nurturing emotional equilibrium and measured responses.
To the readers of today and tomorrow, with a mind filled with the hopes of posterity and a desire for the betterment of the world, I take to my pen in the effort to communicate the virtue of moderation. In the course of my life, I have seen and experienced the allure of excess, both in actions and passions, yet it is with the wisdom of years that I have come to understand the merit of moderation in all things. The virtue of temperance, which I spoke of prior, concerns itself with the body, but moderation, dear friends, is the guardian of the mind. Moderation, I wrote in my youth. Avoid extremes. Forbear resenting injuries so much as you think they deserve. This saying, while simple, possesses a depth of understanding that may not be evident at first glance. Moderation is not merely the limitation of the physical, but it is the balance of the mind, the tempering of our emotions and desires. It is to approach life, not with the rush of uncontrolled passions, but with the measured tread of reason and discernment. We live in an age where extremes often hold sway, where instant gratification is but a moment away. Yet, it is in such times that the virtue of moderation becomes even more paramount. To resist the urge to respond in excess, to maintain a stoic calm amidst the storms of life. This is the true mark of moderation. I implore you, dear reader, to consider the virtue of moderation. Reflect upon your actions and reactions, discern where you might be given to excess, and endeavor to bring balance. Seek not to stifle your passions, but to channel them towards positive and productive pursuits. Remember, dear friends, that life is not a race to be won, but a journey to be savored. Let moderation guide your steps and calm your mind, and you will find, as I have, that it leads not to boredom, but to a richness of experience that is its own reward. In the spirit of moderation I remain, Benjamin Franklin.
Moderation is a virtue that calls for a balanced and thoughtful approach to life. It's about maintaining equilibrium in our responses, steering clear of excessive reactions, and embracing a sense of proportion in all aspects of life. When we look at the life of Benjamin Franklin, we see numerous instances of moderation, but one that stands out is an example we have previously visited in our exploration of the virtue of silence, his diplomatic mission to France during the Revolutionary War. In late 1776, Franklin, then 70 years old, was appointed as a commissioner to France. His goal was to secure French support for the American Revolution, a daunting task, given that France was not known to be particularly friendly towards the English colonies at that time. From the outset, Franklin knew that he could not approach this task with an extreme mindset. He could neither be overzealous nor too passive. Instead, he needed to strike the right balance. Understanding this, Franklin chose a moderate course of action. He dressed in simple, homespun attire, presenting himself as a representative of the hard-working, straightforward Americans. This was a stark contrast to the opulence and extravagance of the French court. This unassuming appearance, however, was part of his strategy. Franklin aimed to embody and promote the values of the burgeoning American Republic: simplicity, hard work, and honesty. Moreover, Franklin's conduct in negotiations embodied moderation. He was patient, thoughtful, and tactful, choosing his battles wisely. When the French offered a commercial treaty in 1777, Franklin accepted it despite it not being the full military support the colonies desperately needed. He knew that building a strong relationship was more important in the long run, and so he demonstrated restraint, choosing not to push for immediate, extensive aid. His approach was careful and measured, not confrontational or desperate. He engaged in social and intellectual life in France, winning admiration and support through his affable character, wit, and intelligence, rather than resorting to aggressive lobbying or demands. Finally, his moderation paid off in 1778 when France agreed to a treaty of alliance and openly joined the war against Britain. This was a turning point in the American Revolution, largely made possible by Franklin's moderate yet persistent diplomacy. Franklin's diplomatic mission to France offers a compelling illustration of the power and wisdom of moderation. When living the virtue of moderation today, it is not merely a virtue that restricts excess. It is a worldview that informs our responses to life's oscillations. It shapes our interactions, our responses, and our overall sense of well-being. Consider the example of a high-stress professional environment. After a long and challenging day at work, it's not uncommon for us to react impulsively to minor issues at home. This reaction is a manifestation of stress, rather than an appropriate response to the situation at hand. In such cases, if we adopt a philosophy of moderation, we can consciously prevent the spillover of work stress into our personal lives. We can choose to respond more moderately and thoughtfully, thereby improving our personal relationships and our overall mental well-being. This practice, applied over time, can profoundly transform our personal experiences and interactions. The virtue of moderation can also guide us in our professional lives, helping us strike a balance between the drive for success and the need for sustainability. An entrepreneur, for example, may be passionate about their work to the point of neglecting their health and personal life. In the face of mounting stress and health issues, adopting a philosophy of moderation could provide a much-needed corrective. By consciously balancing work demands with the need for rest and personal time, the entrepreneur can avoid burnout, improve their health, and potentially bring more focus and creativity to their work. At a societal level, moderation fosters dialogue, understanding, and compromise, acting as a bulwark against the divisive influence of extreme views. In a world often characterized by polarized debates and zero-sum game mentalities, a commitment to moderation can open avenues for more constructive discussions and resolutions. Consider a local community divided over a proposed development project. If someone in this community champions the cause of moderation, they might suggest a town hall meeting where all viewpoints can be heard and discussed. This moderated approach may lead to a compromise that acknowledges the concerns of all parties rather than polarizing the community into winners and losers. Remember, moderation as a virtue requires conscious commitment. It calls on us to continually assess our responses and actions, ensuring we avoid extremes and aim for balance. As we explore the final section of this module, we'll offer practical strategies to help us adopt this virtue in our daily lives. As we practice moderation this week, we can reflect upon the similarities with temperance. The following examples look to practice moderation in a more broad manner, not just in eating, drinking, and digital detox, but in your thoughts and actions in general. On your virtues chart, track your practice of moderation each day this week. Ask your daily questions of, what good shall I do this day in the mornings, and what good have I done today in the evenings? Note in your journal how the practice feels. Reflect on any challenges. Take some time each day to reflect on your desires and wishes. Distinguish between what you want and what you need. Aim to find a balanced perspective where you pursue your desires, but not at the expense of your well-being or moral values. When discussing heated topics, try to see and understand both sides of the argument. Make it a goal to find a moderate stance. where you acknowledge the validity of different viewpoints, even if they contradict your own. Find a balance between giving and receiving in your relationships. While it's important to help others, it's also necessary to allow them to help you. Ensuring that there's a fair exchange of kindness, support, and resources can foster healthier, more balanced relationships. Try to balance your work, personal life, and leisure activities. It's easy to let one aspect dominate your time, but strive to distribute your time evenly across all areas of your life. Reflect on your buying habits. Are they balanced and sustainable, or do you tend to purchase things impulsively? Aim for thoughtful consumerism where you buy what you need and truly value, rather than getting swayed by marketing or societal pressures. This moderation in consumption can have positive effects on both your personal finances and the environment.